Welcome to the Black Bear's Banjo, presented by Many Magical Tales. In the Appalachian Mountains of Virginia, there lived a big old black bear named Buford. Now, Buford wasn't your normal dig through your trash and tear up your yard bear, and he definitely wasn't your typical run-of-the-mill average North American black bear. No, sir, Buford just happened to play the banjo in a bluegrass band on the west side of the Shenandoah River near Big Meadow, all the way up on Skyline Drive. This tale is all about how one morning Buford woke up and someone had stolen his banjo. It's not a wise thing to do to steal a banjo from a bear. Let's see what happens next. It was a cold, dewy morning on the top of the mountain, and Buford was still exhausted. He had been up all night looking for food and hanging out with the fellas. Buford was big for a black bear. I mean, really big. It was said that on his grandfather's side, there was a grizzly bear, but that might just be his Uncle Chuck's tall tales. Who's to say? Either way, he was a big boy, and it takes a lot of food to keep a big bear like Buford in a good mood. Not to say that Buford is a grump. As far as bears go, he's a pretty happy fella. If you run across him in the woods, you might see him doing something like scratching his back on a tree or lounging around in the sun. But if you're really lucky, you might catch him playing his banjo. Man, he can play that banjo. Sometimes he would get to picking on the banjo so fast it looked like he had twice the amount of paws. He was a part of the Big Mountain Top gang, featuring him on banjo, Rodney Raccoon on the washboard, Danny Deer on drums, Brandon Bear on guitar, and Bobcat Bill on bass. They were a popular draw and had a big upcoming concert. Now that might not happen unless Buford can find his banjo. At first, he ran down the list of usual suspects. Freddie Fox is suspect number one, as always, so Buford decided to go pay him a visit. "Freddie, get out here now!" Buford bellowed towards Freddie's den. Freddie came out and said, "Buford, buddy, what's going on? Is everything okay?" Buford replied, "No, not everything is okay. What have you done with my banjo?" "Buford, I swear it wasn't me. I wouldn't mess with your banjo. You know how much we all love your music." Buford eyed Freddie suspiciously, but deep down, he started thinking Freddie might not be the culprit. Freddie offered to help Buford search for the missing banjo. As they combed through the woods and meadows, Buford's friends from the Big Mountain Top gang joined the search. Rodney Raccoon, Danny Deer, Brandon Bear, and Bobcat Bill rallied around Buford, determined to recover the banjo before the big concert. They combed the woods for miles. After a while, Buford said, "Well, I guess it's really gone. I guess the show will have to be canceled." The gang visited the homes of anybody who might know anything, and nobody knew anything. The group was losing faith that they would be able to put this concert on. Bobcat Bill said, "Look, man, why don't you just play the backup guitar and we'll go on anyway?" Rodney Raccoon said, "No way. The banjo is the heart of the band. No banjo, no band. That's all there is to it." Buford was getting depressed. "I loved that banjo. I can't understand why anybody would want to take it from me. I just don't understand. I thought people loved us and loved our jams. Why would anybody do this? Who would do this? This just isn't my day." Suddenly, a peculiar sound reached their ears, a faint banjo twang carried by the breeze. Following the sound, they stumbled upon a mischievous trio of raccoons who had found Buford's banjo and were attempting to play it. Rodney Raccoon said,
"Well, what do we have here? If it isn't the three orneriest trio this side of the river, I should have known you knuckleheads had something to do with this."
Buford, towering over them, was starting to get furious. He spoke in his deep, rumbling voice. "I don't know how you sneaky jokers did this, but you fellows might want to drop the banjo and run, because I'm about to get real upset and you wouldn't like me when I'm real upset. So how about you hand over that banjo before I get as ugly as an angry, hungry, wart-covered hunchback toad?" The raccoon trio, realizing they were in deep trouble, reluctantly returned the banjo. Buford, restraining himself as much as he could, warned them to stay out of his neck of the woods. The mischievous raccoons scampered away, leaving the Big Mountain Top gang. to make their way back to the amphitheater. With the banjo back in Buford's quick-picking paws, the gang practiced their tunes, gearing up for the most unforgettable concert ever performed on the mountaintop. The next morning, the group was sitting around a fire eating breakfast when suddenly Buford's cousin Brandon yelled out, "Somebody stole my guitar." They could hear the guitar being played not far away and turned to see the trio of raccoons. Buford said, "Well, since these three are determined to learn an instrument, we might as well put them to work and make them part of the band." He took the guitar back, gave it to Brandon, and handed each of the raccoons shakers. "Now, if I catch you guys stealing one more instrument, that'll be the last thing you ever do. You better work real hard and stay on tempo." Later that day, the big mountaintop gang put on the most incredible epic concert for the entire woods to hear. Their jams echoed down the mountain into the valley below. The raccoons never stole an instrument again and became an intricate part of the band. And if you're real quiet and you're real lucky, when you're on a walk in the woods in the Appalachian Mountains, you can hear Buford somewhere in the woods picking on his banjo. The end. Thank you for tuning in to a Many Magical Tales short story. Please like, rate, and subscribe now. Thank you for tuning in to a Many Magical Tales short story. Please like, rate, and subscribe now.